All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to a valued conversation, Gen X spoken word. Before we go any further, let's go ahead and get some background music here. Catnip, switch up the
Well, you
vibe.
had me from the start. By the way you stared, the way you wrote a
Fair use, fair use.
yeah. Man, I felt your energy. Wasn't used to being loved and treated differently, yeah. But something went wrong. The signals got crossed, and now we're on completely different pages. Let's go where we were, where no one gets hurt. Baby, keep it right there. Don't you stress the flow. You're trying to pick the pace up. We should take it slow. Baby, keep your focus. Don't you
Fair
make
use.
change my mind.
Yo, Slit Slate Liquor, what do you think of the groove right about now?
Baby, don't you, baby, don't you, baby, don't you switch up the vibe. Baby, don't you, baby, don't you, baby, don't you switch up the vibe.
I caught that on the Kevin Sandler show a couple years ago. I like the music, independent artist, so I'll rep that, no doubt.
I used to use that melodic cadence back in my producing days.
All right. Yeah, man, we got to get on some music tip here. Actually, I cannot find the DJ. Now, I've talked to him a few times here and there. We haven't spoken in a while. He had a leg injury a few months ago, actually about a year ago. So he should be back up and standing and DJing. So I still need to get him up here so we can have that background groove here. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and get to it. So hello, folks. Again, welcome to a Value Conversation, Gen X Spoken Word. We are joined tonight by his heavenly deity, Schlitz St. Liquor.
Right on, right on. Blessings from menthols. Yeah.
So, getting into this, I think everybody has seen what the topic is tonight, which is seriously, Michelle, lack of discernment undermines your message. So, if anyone who is tuning in right now for the first time, thank you for doing so. If this is the typical thing where it's just Rob and myself for about maybe 15, 20 minutes, then we get about 8, 10, or 15 folks in, great. Excuse me, great. If not, everybody knows we've got nothing but minutes that we've got to make up here. We've got some hours to go. Now, on the plus side, we have finally crossed 600 hours. Now, still, it's not a lot, but it's more than the 200 we were stuck at for the last 5 or 6 months. So we still have a ways to go. We've got to get 2,400 hours under our belts before we can get monetized. So if anybody knows someone who might be entertained or engaged with the topics that we're presenting, by all means, pass this around. We greatly appreciate that. All right, so without any further ado, let me go ahead and get this shared out. So let me know, Rob, if you can see this. Now we'll just go with the tab because there's no music that we really need to share here. All right, so what's that, Rob?
I can see it.
Okay, you can, cool. All right, so here's the topic for today. So I was checking something this morning, which I normally do, is the news feed to see what type of mess is coming out of the Oval Office this morning. And prior to that, I happened to come across this. Michelle Obama skips Jessie Jackson's funeral despite facing backlash for missing major events with husband Barack. So I'm just going to scoot through this for a little bit because we're going to discuss a lot of this here for the next 15, 20, 30 minutes. Just depends upon what Rob and I can flesh out, or if anyone who happens to show up, maybe we'll bring somebody up to give their own perspective as well. All right, so stay with us. Michelle Obama is once again a no-show at another important public event. The former First Lady was missing from Reverend Jessie Jackson's funeral service in Chicago, Illinois on Friday, March 6th, despite facing widespread backlash last year for skipping major appearances alongside her husband, Barack. While Michelle wasn't in attendance at the House of Hope for Jessie's memorial service, Barack attended with fellow living Democrat presidents Bill Clinton and Joe Biden, whose respective wives, Hillary Clinton and Jill Biden, were also present to pay their respects. The three liberal leaders were acknowledged by a speaker as they entered the service, which was held less than 1 month after the Reverend's death at the age of 84 on February 17th. So the big thing here, just to set the background, is that previously, I believe about another year ago, there was an event that Michelle did not join Barack on. And everyone was going through this wild thing. Oh, they're getting a divorce. They're getting a divorce. Nothing had ever been substantiated. Nothing was held as being truthful about what was being said. She just didn't make it. But everybody was wondering, so what is it that is preventing her from showing up? Well, let me just get that part, and so we'll get to it. Michelle Obama is practicing the art of saying no. So let's go ahead and just focus on this paragraph, or at least these couple of paragraph sentences right here, and we'll go ahead and get started. This isn't the first time Barack has flew solo to an important event. In January 2025, Michelle was scrutinized for skipping the funeral of former President Jimmy Carter. Later that same month, she was criticized for opting out of attending President Trump's second inauguration, which I probably would have also. Still, be that as it may, the former First Lady responded to backlash during an episode of her IMO podcast, in my opinion, I believe, admitting it took everything in my power to not do the thing that was perceived as right, but do the things that was right for me. That was a hard thing for me to do. Revealing she was practicing the art of saying no, Michelle noted, it's a muscle that you have to build. All right, and that's pretty much the significance of where we are tonight. Now, again, as always, I leave the articles up here if anyone wants to follow through. Let me go ahead and put a few more things out here for this. Let's go ahead and read a little bit further, and we'll go ahead and kick it off. I apologize for saying one more time here, but this is interesting, all right? Again, this forms the basis of what we're going to discuss. And I think we suffered because it's almost like we started training late in life to build that muscle, right? I am just now starting to build it, she continued at the time. She added, I want our daughters, I want the young women out there, I want my girls to start practicing different strategies for saying no. After all that I've done in this world, if I am still showing them that I have to keep, I still have to show people that I love my country, that I'm doing the right thing, that I'm always going high all the time, even in the face of a lot of hypocrisy and contradiction, all I'm doing is keeping that crazy bar that our mothers and grandmothers set for us. All right, so again, here is the title of the article if anyone goes looking for it. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the background for the moment. Let's go ahead and kick it off. So, Rob, your first thoughts of the article, because I know you and I glanced and spoke about it a little bit earlier, but going over it again and giving a little more context in the event you didn't see it before, what's your thought process?
Yeah, the first thing that stands out to me was that it seems like she didn't have like a solid reason for not going. And when she mentioned working on the art of saying no, or whatever it was she said, it just seems like she's practicing rebellion. That's the only thing I can come up with in terms of that, because it's just when saying no for no's sake against like duty and I don't want to say it's societal norms, but it's like it's a norm for like first ladies, even when they leave office, to still to still uphold the duty of being a first lady, so to speak, or at least a retired first lady. So rebellion.
Oh, excuse me. So myself, when I first read the article, I had to go back and take a look at it and make sure that there was nothing that I myself was misunderstanding. Because again, as I read that, what stuck out to me is the context, or more or less the situation. I can understand somebody saying no if it's going to be the opening of an ice cream parlor. or maybe the opening of Earth Day or something like that. Not that I'm diminishing anything of those aspects, but you understand the gravity of what we're doing. You've got a civil rights icon that is now passed away. He's going into the ground. This is the last hurrah for everyone, at least to be physically around him, although he is not there, but in thought and consciousness, he may be. But the significance of that moment is that why would you not want to be here for this occasion? This is a send-off. So when I read that, she was saying, well, I have to practice my no. Why would you want to practice no at such, I don't know if the right expression would be auspicious or momentous occasion? The passing, or I guess people say the celebration of one's life, the last time that you can all celebrate together. Why would you want to miss that? Now, going back to what you were saying about being a first lady for life, it's the same thing with the president. After he leaves office, he is still addressed as Mr. President, which means that there is still a level of decorum that's expected from this individual who was led for 4 years or 8 years if they do 2 consecutive terms, or terms out of order. But still, if you sat in that office, there is a level of decorum that's expected one to maintain. For example, when we both got out of the military, depending upon how long we served, we still look at it from the perspective, I am still that proud military member, if you want to say that. I still have that in my background. I still have a level of service, integrity, value that I maintain. Why would it stop just because I'm no longer in the military, right?
Right.
So that's the first thing that I thought of immediately. Like, what is the significance of saying no to such an occasion as to be there when you're burying an icon? I really couldn't see any benefit in this other than you say rebellion. I look at it as being a thing of maybe suppression that she's had for wanting to express who she is for a certain amount of time since they've been in the public limelight. Now, a lot of people seem to forget, and I was having this conversation with Devin, my barber. He was on the show with me a couple of months ago, and I mentioned the article to him. He said, man, that doesn't make any type of sense because of the fact that, hey, I mean, he's the president. The other presidents are showing up with their wives to give their condolences, to show their respect. And I don't think it's a thing of, let's say, respect for the most part, but it's showing up for the most part to recognize the duty of the office. Even though you're no longer in the office, that duty still remains with you. And to me, it's more like defiance of a box. And notice how I was reading what she was saying, this impossible bar. She equates it as being a bar, that why do I have to maintain this high bar? But you have to remember, what did you do? Where were you? You were married to the first African-American president. In and of that self, that moment to whereas the former president showed up with their wives, they knew the moment. They knew what it was. But for her to say, well, I wanted to exercise my no muscles. Well, I didn't feel that I needed to be there. I have other things that I find important. So no, I just saw this as a level of defiance that was expressed towards the wrong situation. So I kick it back to you. Anything that you want to add to that?
Defiance. I like that. Now the question is, do you think she's being defiant towards Barack Obama, or is she being defiant towards her role as a wife?
Here's a third question.
Okay.
This is more of what I was thinking. Is she being defiant in the role of first lady, being that she feels she's already done her part? That is what I took from this, not being defiant as a wife. Although you could you could construe that from the fact that, hey, you've got this engagement to go to. No, you have the engagement to go to. You are the president. Now, I don't know where all this came from, but still, you get
Yeah.
the gist of it for the most part, right? The thing here is that, is she being defiant towards her husband, or is she being defiant towards feeling that she is pressured to maintain that role of first lady after she's no longer in the White House? That's how I see that.
Hmm. It's an interesting, that's an interesting question to juxtapose against each other. So, doggone it, John.
What's that?
I'm basing it. I'm not basing like. I'm trying to focus just on this one, on this situation.
Right?
I've seen a couple other situations that I perceived as her being rebellious against her position as being the first lady. I think that might be it. I think you might be right, John.
Well, let's divulge here for a moment. Let's go ahead and move off of that. What other instances can you think of to aid to this concept? Let's go ahead and work through this for a moment. Let's say that she is defiant, not against her husband, but the position of still being the first lady, although she is no longer in the office. What's your thought towards that?
There was an interview that she had did, and I hate that I can't remember where the interview occurred. I don't remember if it was on her own show or if it was on somebody else's show. And she was basically saying that she felt like that she hadn't accomplished something in life or something, and she wanted to take this time for herself now. So, to do stuff that she wanted to do, that she had been wanting to do. I'm not sure if you had seen what I'm talking about.
I saw an interview last year. It may not have been the same interview, but the vibe is always going to be the same. I have accomplishments also. And I recall during the course of, maybe it was his second term, there was a bit of that had leaked out, where she had made comments that I am an accomplished lawyer. I've achieved certain aspects, and I'm unable to show those because I'm being overshadowed by the position of my husband. Is that more or less the vibe that you're referring to?
That's exactly it. Now, with that being said, would you feel that she's being defiant against her husband with that information? This is smooth.
This is what?
It seems like she's having like a midlife crisis or something.
Well, let's think about this. She went to school to be a lawyer. She got through this, passed the bar.
Uh-huh.
She achieved a high level of success.
Right.
And then the guy she's dipping with all of a sudden ends up being the president, which means that all of her aspirations that she may have had in mind were quelched. Now think about this. She was already married. She had children, so that it already changed her trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
But then he ends up being president. Now there's more things that she's got to put to the side and follow and work with him and support him. Now, we know anything about our ladies, there's a streak. All right, there is a streak of independence. Don't stop me. I have the same capability, and I'm not arguing against that. I'm not going to use that as a negative.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as I was saying before, I'll pose this to the chat, or should I say, pose this to the replay game, because we've got one or two folks in and out. But as I said before, you and I both know it's all about getting the hours in. So whether anyone is here with us or it's just us, the conversation is going to be had. So I'll say it again. And this time, this is for the replay game, or even the one person that may be out there right now. What is the difference between an independent woman and the woman with her independence. Again, what is the difference between an independent woman and a woman with her independence? The difference is that the woman with her independence doesn't feel the need to run around beating her chest, making it known that she is an independent woman. But even though she does not go about saying it and expressing it outwardly, doesn't mean that she is any less than the woman who's got her mouth open all the time. I've got my own car. I've got this. I've got an education. I make this type of money. I do this. I'm not settling. Just because the woman with her independence doesn't spend her time saying that out loud doesn't mean that she carries or does not carry those same intentions. Now, just to take a side street here, I want everybody to know this is not a gang up on black women show. Oh, absolutely not. But at the same time, we have to ask ourselves, are we seeing things in Michelle's behavior that almost coincides with the tropes that are put out about black women? Now, I'll be honest here, and I'm going to just put this straight forward. There are some things that we have seen over the course of the last 3 to 5 years that just don't make any damn sense. Now, I'm just going to speak of 1 or 2 things that I recall here, such as seeing sisters in a guy's restaurant, in his restaurant, getting up on his table and twerking. But here's the thing, it wasn't a nightclub. It wasn't a place where you would go in and pay money to do that. There were no bouncers. It was this man's restaurant. And then the girl who was on his table shaking her tail had the audacity to say that he was in the wrong for trying to stop her when he was asking her, please get off of my table. Another instance that I recall is that, who was that clown child? Sexy Red.
Oh, yeah.
It was either Sexy Red or the other one. There were 2 of them. This old foul-tailed girl who was in front of Buckingham Palace and who said out loud, unabashedly, what is her name?
Sukihana, I think.
Sukihana, thank you, Sukihana. Sukihana says out loud, and her words, not mine. Yo, I feel like I want to eat a nigga's ass tonight. In broad daylight, high noon, in front of Buckingham Palace. In somebody else's country, this is the image that is being portrayed out there. Now, I'm not going to say, like you said before, it's not all black women. It is not all black women. But the problem is that when we have 1 or 2 who go out and make a significant statement that shines badly on them, that is remembered. And that is also portrayed. I mean, I am sitting here watching this and I'm sitting there having a fit looking at this girl. You are standing in someone else's country. You are supposedly a star. Clearly, she's not a big star, but still, you are supposedly in the limelight for the Generation Z folks, and you're out here talking about eating somebody's ass
in front of
in public, in front of tourists with their families,
in front of a sacred place to the culture of the country that she was in. That is crazy.
In front of the Queen's. In front of Buckingham Palace, she's doing this. And then, of course, there was another instance. Do you remember the Essence Festival?
Not particularly, no.
All right, that may be a Gen X thing. So the Essence Festival was held every year. This is one of those festivals where they hosted Black excellence.
Oh, yeah. I remember I know of the Essence Festival, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it had always, for the years that I've known of it, I never had the opportunity to go to it. But for the years that I've known of it, this is where you had major corporations, you have major public-facing folks, entities who showed up to celebrate Black entrepreneurs. Now, about maybe 5 years or more ago, maybe less, but about 5 years or so, it was sold, or within 5 years, it was sold. So you have people who had never gone to the Essence Festival who finally had the opportunity to do so, who showed up with kids because it was a family affair. They show up and you've got girls on the stage in thongs or in booty shorts, whatnot, up here twerking. I think Janae was out there singing, even pulled her shirt up, no bra. And they're all sitting there like, what happened to the Essence Festival? And I remember India Arie specifically made a statement that, what are y'all doing? This is not what the festival stood for. And one of the younger girls said something to her for the fact that, I can't recall if she called her an old bitch or not, but you don't know what you're talking about. You know, your time has gone and past. You don't know what it's all about right about now. And I remember India Arie looked back. I can't recall if she snapped back directly in there or if there was an interview that she snapped back, but there was an article where she spoke of this and she talked about how out of pocket everything had become, looking at the way that young women were behaving. I remember someone also making a statement, because this was in a chat room somewhere. Someone made the statement that even if you know you're wrong, why would you not admit it, but instead continue to rail against the person who knows what's correct or how it should go down or how it should be respected? India Arie was completely and 100% correct in calling out that foolishness of the twerking, the sexual behavior, all this type of stuff you're doing at the Essence Festival. No, this wasn't Coachella or whatever it was, but that was the vibe that was floating around now. So I've rambled enough, man. So give it a second here. What is your thought process of imagining, or not imagining, but hearing that someone has gone to a different country, showed their ass, lived the way she did, and then thought nothing of it? Now remember, she also got together with Sexy Red that had that song, my booty hole's brown and my coochie's pink, but no one's ever told me my coochie stink. Man.
Oh yeah. The community, oh man, we have certainly came a long way. I'll say it like that. Hey, and it's funny too, because I don't know if you remember, it was an incident where they twerked on some place in Africa or something.
No, that doesn't ring a bell, but please.
I'm gonna have to look it up when I get a chance to send it to you. They twerked on some place. It was like and like the place they twerked on top of, they were disrespecting the ancestors, man. That's something that I'm more appalled at than even them being in front of Buckingham Palace, because they're disrespecting their own ancestors at that point. I'll send it to you. I gotta look it up.
Well, it's a funny thing when we talk about ancestors. You have to remember, who are we talking about when we say disrespecting our ancestors? But even the fact of just the level of disrespect in another country, but then to look at it within the confines of your own culture, which brings it back to looking into the confines of what we see in the presidency. Again, as I said before, I don't want to isolate it between Barack and Obama. Between Barack and Michelle. But I still want to look at that level of, as you said, I say defiance, and you say what, rebellion?
Yeah.
In both instances of the words we're using, someone is pushing back. Now, can we agree on that aspect? And all right, so what we have is Michelle pushing back, because again, she has achieved a lot of things, but she had to put it on hold the first time because she became a mother. And then as the girls got older and were getting ready to go into or going into school age activities, then the man becomes president. Now I can almost hear in the background, shit. Now I've got to put this aside so I can be behind and support him for this. So this very well might be the point in her life where she says, look, I want to do some things also. And I can't say I blame her. I cannot say that. However, how much time does it take out of your life? And this is me from the outside looking in, because I don't know what she could have had planned for that day. But for the occasion, for that one moment in time that will never come back, how difficult would it have been to attend that service just to show your support in the inactive role of a first lady? I think you had said this before, only in our community do we have this type of disconnect. And it seems to be consistent. Your thoughts?
Consistent, huh? And it almost seems too like from the situations that we discussed, I'm talking about all of them together. Like when it comes to their interactions with black men, for black men, against black men, or however, whenever there's a black man involved, it's almost like I'm getting like an ownership vibe.
Yes. The key word, submission, mistaken for subjugation.
Ooh, yes.
Yes. So
yes.
again, I'll open that back up again. Submission being mistaken for subjugation.
Yeah. And they view submission as being a bad word, even though most of them claim to be the C word. And submission is one of the tenets of that faith in terms of their relationship with the other sex.
But
and you know the difference between subjection and submission. Submission has a voluntary element to it.
Yes, it does.
You see what I'm getting? You see, so
I do.
Submission is not the bad word that they make it out to be. Think about it. All the men, like, think about on average. You grew up in overseas, right? And I grew up here
in the States. I had my time between overseas and States, and then when I became a young adult, I spent about a better part of a decade and change living overseas. But I'm jealous of you, man. What's that?
I'm jealous, man. I wanted the fish and chips, the doggone the crumpets or whatever they call all that.
Oh yes,
man,
had it all. Yes, I did, and it was worth it by gum.
And look, and I even listened to UK Garage, man. That's the UK version.
Drum and bass music.
Yeah.
And, yep.
You know, with black women, like, you know, like growing up around all with them, family, church, all that stuff. Our interactions, even like from being like from our youth, you can tell that they even when it's kids interacting with other kids, they move like they own the other black boys. It's the strangest thing. But when you're talking about like submission and like you said, they mistake the subjection. They mistake the two words. They interchange them for some reason.
Well, ideally, the problem that we have with the word submission is how it has been presented. And what is the one thing we both agree on that has been responsible for this distortion? And I've said it before, and I will continue to say so. The aspect of Christianity, again, which was taken from African spirituality, chopped, screwed, diced, distorted, and presented back to us as something that was already ours to begin with. See, just to take a trip here, now I'll say memory lane here, but people don't seem to understand that the society that we exist in right now, African culture, existing and living in America for the last 400 or 500 years, or we'll say 600 if we look at the Spanish colonies, looking at when Spain actually began the slave trade. before anybody else. Well, actually, there is a before the Spanish. I'll take that back. Before the Spanish, we were sold by the Arabs. Now, a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that the slave trade, the very, 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 very first enslavement and selling of Africans was by the Arab population, the Arab Arabian Peninsula. But that's a different show. But what I'm saying is that when the enslavement of the Spanish followed by the English occurred, that changed the way that African society had existed. Because African society had always been matrilineal, meaning that it was a matriarch society. A lot of people do not know this. And as we were talking about it before, they do not know this because of how we have been ingratiated into the society that we've all grown up in. I mean, let's think about this. We as African Americans, just to take the shift here, we as descendants of Africa, we as Black people, however you want to call yourselves, we are the only folks growing up inside of a culture that does not reach back to where that culture came from. Or there's a few of us who don't. Now, you know that I identify as, again, as an African descendant, but if we look at it from just the base of the conversation, everybody else knows where they came from. So there's no misconstrue. It's like you and I talked about on the show where we looked at, we talked about the religion, the issue of religion, as well as folks not understanding that the Bible is a story, that nothing in it ever happened. I caught flack from that from someone the other day, a couple of folks that I had to have a talking to with. Not saying that I won or they lost, but we just exchanged our ideas. But again, when you look at folks from China, the picture of their savior looks like them, does it not? Mm-hmm. When you look at India, the picture of their savior looks like them. Japan, the picture of their savior looks like them. But when you look at the African side of town, what does our supposed savior look like?
A lighter version of Slit Stain Liquor.
There you go. A blonde-haired, blue-eyed white guy that, for all intents and purposes, never existed. Never walked the earth, but still, that was a measure, an element of control that was also introduced into our society that has us so distorted and unable to look forward and recognize that it never happened. When you have believed something for a millennia or more, it is hard to conceive anything different.
Mm-hmm. That's
so
true.
Therefore, the aspect of African society used to be the woman. Well, it was focused on the woman because you had the concept of Mother Earth. The woman was held to the highest esteem. Now, again, there's no such thing as gods. Never has been. But if there was anyone to be exalted or looked at that, it was the African woman, because she, and if you listen to, again, you talk to or listen to Sheikh Anta Diop, or at least he had to have an interpreter because I believe he spoke French. But John G. Jackson, Amos Williams, Yosef Binyakini, and of course, Dr. John Henry Clark, it's spoken that we came from her. Imagine someone saying, I didn't come from you. You're foolish. Massa's got me. Massa is who I identify with. Now imagine hearing someone say that to their mother, to denounce that I did not come from you. How ridiculous does that sound? That's almost as if you're slapping your mother in the face. Get away from me.
I'll slap you in the face.
I mean, bro, how ridiculous. It's like hearing someone say, oh no, I trace my lineage back to slavery. Well, wait a minute. Where do you think that person that you trace your lineage from, if you were to go one step further, where do you think they came from?
Right. And I would never deny being descended from Africans along with the other groups I was descended from. But I'm mostly African. And you want to know how I know that they would slap you if you said something like that? because it happened to me when I was little. Like I
Ooh.
was in preschool with a whole bunch of other white kids. I was like highlight skin, man, and you know, the hair and everything back then before I started taking on the traits of my ancestors. Right, I came home from preschool, and I was like, Mom, you know, I was just out there playing with the white girls and the white boys and stuff. I was like, Mom, I was like, I'm white. Slap. Oh my God, hilarious.
Well, damn.
Oh my gosh. And you know the funny part though? It was because like my sister and my brother, they're like black as oil. And I think that might have knocked some sense in me because, you know, like after that I never said anything like that again. And I definitely never thought it. And you know, as I grew older, once about like when I was like 6, 7 years old, I saw Shaka Zulu for the first time. I was going around the projects. I wrapped a little band around my head. I had my broom, acting like it was a spear. Like I used to look in the mirror and pretend I was the dude. What was his name? Was it like Robert Sele or something like that? The lead actor for Shaka Zulu.
Oh man, don't give me the line.
Pride. Well, nothing but pride. As a matter of fact, I wanted to be like my brother. I wanted to have the naps. You know what I'm saying? I wanted it all. No, I'm serious.
I want the problems.
Yeah, I wanted all the.
You want test me why?
I wanted to be like my brother. My brother, you know what I'm saying? Dark skin. He had he was always naturally in shape, and you know that comes from our ancestors too. You know,
naturally what?
Naturally in shape. You know, didn't have to work out for the 6-pack, have veins going through his arms, all that stuff. I wanted all the black. I think I might have. You know, so I got a little bit too much from the European.
I'm here for the smoke. I want all the problems.
Yeah, and even to this day, man, I love being black. I love everything black, man.
Well, the thing here is that the loving part of let's say of being black, what I've noticed is that in today's environment, all the wrong aspects are being perpetrated or put behind. Oh, that's just how black. That's how we do. Such as again, the show. I don't know if you were on the show or not, but I think Chicago and I have done this about the word nigger. Why in the hell would you think that is a term of endearment, people? But still, I was on the show, and I think it's. I was getting into it with 2K about something. You know, 2K is on with Hamp a lot. And if he has his own show, I have not been aware of it. I wouldn't listen to it because I have said many a time that when we look at how we present ourselves, and we'll get back to the topic here, but we're going to kind of weave our way back. But I just want to make sure that we use this properly. We mistake and misuse certain aspects that are frowned upon, but think that it represents us as black people. And the biggest thing that I am not cool with is black folks calling each other nigger. Because again, you don't see Asians calling themselves the C word, right? That rhymes with pink, but beginning to take out the P and C and H. You don't see them doing that. What's up, C word? You don't have Jewish people walking around. What's up, K word? You don't have that. But yet with us, we use it indiscriminately as a means of showing affection. It's like when Joe Cool was up here. He and I were having a conversation, and Joe got upset because of the fact that, if you notice, you and I have been talking for about 44 minutes. And I'm the only one, giving examples, but whatnot, who has used a few choice words. Now, I may let it slide, or should I say slip, here and there when I'm outside the house. But I do not walk around and say, yo, what up, nigga? I think like the video you showed, which is probably going to be on the show. I think, I want to use that, but I'm not going to put it out to everyone right now. But what I'm saying here is that we choose the wrong things that we want to rep and say, this says something about us. It says something foolish about us. Joe was annoyed, saying that, man, you need to relax a little bit, man. I mean, make the show fun. What do you mean? What? How? Make the show fun by having people up here going shit, dick, snot, motherfucker, pussy, bitch, hole, shit. No. Absolutely not. This is supposed to be an inflection point, a place to reflect on. Whereas when we look at all of the content creation around us that is mostly going for the entertainment value, but having no educational aspect to them, this is not what we're here for.
Right.
Yes, we'll have a laugh occasionally, but this is still, as I said, intended to be that point of education that when you get through looking at the social media advice that you're getting here, I mean, these YouTube, social media, psychologist, life coach types who go out and read a particular word, then mispronounce it when trying to give an example. That's not what is the case here. We want to look at everything from an actual perspective that we are using ourselves as the example. Council of OGs, old school guidance from old school gents. All right, that's the whole purpose of this. We want to make sure that we set a bar, a marker, but then we demonstrate that.
And you
That
know,
we have to,
oh, good, I'm sorry.
yeah, that's what we have to do here.
And
Go ahead, man.
I was gonna make like a comment about the thing about the Shaka Zulu. The way the movie presented him, he was intelligent. He was smarter than the British people he interacted with. He was a military strategic genius. He was strong. You know, he was wise. You know, he was innovative. All those things, man.
The
And
thing that,
that's really the
oh, go
reason
ahead,
why I
Rob.
looked up to him, man. And you think about our history, right? Our actual history. So, like I'm talking about, like you know, like the blacks that were here already. You talk about like in the Reconstruction period going on up. They didn't have the best clothes, none of that stuff, but they presented themselves best they could. They were always sharp. You know, they always had the manners and all that stuff, all of that, and they built their own towns and everything. And this is being removed like what? This is like less than a, well, maybe a generation or two from not even being able to read, being allowed to read. And it's really impressive because normally, like when you have parents that are not educated, it's tough to move far away from that bar, but they moved far away from it. And they made unbelievable strides, even in the face of them removing the troops from down in the South, still making strides. Being like while they were actually being oppressed. And you talking about like them trying to represent that as being us. No, that ain't us.
See, the key word here goes back to discernment that we were talking about before. It's the level of discernment that has left the building, so to speak. As I was saying before, how idiotic would it be for me to say, I don't come from you, Mom. I have nothing to do with you. How do you reject where you're from? So again, as I gave the example, listening to someone say, oh, I can trace my lineage back to slavery. Wait a minute, that's not our history, which is a different show. That is not where our history began. Our history began and to get us back on track, our history began where the society of Africa was a matriarch, or it's matriarchal. I can never pronounce that right, but it was matrilineal. We'll say it that way. It was matrilineal until the introduction of Alexander the Great. They call him Alexander the Greek in a lot of black communities, but I'm just gonna call him what history knows him, man. Although you say it wasn't great how he portrayed himself. At least that's what is spoken of. But Alexander the Great's presence is what altered or began the alteration of Africa as we know it. And as more and more European influences came into Africa, which is actually known as Aquabuela, but that amongst the natives, I want to say Aquabuela. I may be pronouncing it wrong, but Africa is what the Greeks bestowed the continent as being. So that's what everyone knows it as. Again, this goes back to having someone outside of your country defining your country, defining your narrative. That's a lot of things that, again, I'm trying to bring about and let people know that it's time to look at the narratives that have been suppressed. Different show. But going back to it again, because of the fact the aspect of European life was more male dominated, that's what began to become integrated into the African society. So as a result, prior to Europe's influence, women had a big role. There were women queens. There were women who led in society. There were women in politics. There was all of this that a lot of people literally do not know because of the fact that we have grown up in what? A patriarchal society that did not exist prior to the exposure to European invaders, as they call it. So once that came to be, that changed the whole perspective of where we were going. So get this, you and I both know that it is the father that determines or is responsible for where the child comes from. But what people don't realize is that before the introduction of eurocentric values, it was the mother's side of the family that determined your last name and your lineage. Were you aware of that? I think you probably were, but if not, is this the first time you ever hearing that?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
You're right.
Do you know how many? Go ahead, Rob. I'll tell you. Just let me finish this thought, Rob. I'll kick it back over. Do you know how many folks from the red pill side of the house would split their wigs if they knew that it was not the father's name that was passed down? Everything was passed down from the mother. You know how many of these guys would flip if they actually knew the truth about this? This is what I was saying before. Whereas when you say to someone, what came first, the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, or the Father, the Son, the Mother? And the fact of the matter is that it was the Father, the Son, the Mother that came 1,500 years before the concept of Jesus was even created. But even the fact of showing or stating that, there are people who will still fight that tooth and nail, because again, the lie has been told for so long, you can't conceive anything else. But everything about us, it came from our mother's side. Had it not been for the patriarchal influence that is now governing society. Same thing inside of the societies in Arabia or the Middle East, even though the Middle East was just made up a name, but still from the Muslims, male-dominated societies. Europe as well. But before the introduction of Islam and before the creation of Christianity that was taken from African spirituality, it was the mother who was centered around. All right, over to you, Slits. What's your thought?
I know I need to get back on the ball and start back reading more books and stuff. I need to dig into our history though. I do. I'm talking about I need to be in there like I'm eating food. No, I'm serious, because I mean, granted, yeah, we were separated, but the opportunity we have the opportunity to learn it now. So that the separation is not really valid now.
There are three types of people inside of our community that makes it hard for us to progress, especially now that everyone has internet access, they have a camera, and they can get themselves a microphone. And next thing you know, hey, cuz, let me tell you what I got going on. You know what I'm saying, son? Oh, hey, all my niggas. This type of nonsense. And then you've got people that tell you, yeah, son, yeah, that's my nigga. What are you doing? And then, of course, I'm the square one. Oh, you trying to be white. No, I'm not being anything except reasonable. But then again, reason is going to be in the eye of the beholder, right?
Mm-hmm.
So going back to this, the level of discernment that is missing in us is due to the fact that we have more or less accepted a lot of things about our culture that has been based upon where we have come up or where we've grown up as inside of eurocentric values. And again, I'm not saying yeah, I'm not saying nay, I'm not saying oh to hell with all this, because we speak English, we have a concept of money, we have an idea about life. But the thing is that once you start moving away from that concept, where you say that I don't see this in the same manner, meaning that for me, I'll just put this on me right now. I believe in no God. There never has been. And when you've read and you've actually seen and the proof is presented, and I'm not talking about people saying that, oh, I've read the scripture. No, we're not talking about what you've read in the books. We're talking about what existed before the book that you believe in ever came to be. When you develop that level of understanding, you can see where the distortion comes from. And unless you're able to recognize the distortion, then the values that you keep are going to be that of, and you've heard me say this before, if your oppressor and your enslaver are also the creator of your savior, you have been indoctrinated. And that's what we're dealing with. There is this indoctrination of us, which makes it impossible to break free anyone who is not willing to recognize that, again, everything about a way of life, everything that we do is in contradiction to what we were in the beginning. Now, let me know if that sounds kind of, all over the place, or being that you and I talk about this a lot, you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I definitely get where you're coming from. It makes perfectly good sense. And then after we were quote unquote freed of our bonds or whatever, we started self-indoctrinating. Each generation, successive generation, I was forced to go to church, yada yada yada. And then when like when the religious people, when their beliefs are challenged, they become unchristian. And that's when you start seeing how much they really believe.
Quickly you fall out of faith.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I breaking up?
Yeah. Oh, no, you're good. I was saying that based on what you're saying, I'm agreeing with you, is that how quickly you fall out of favor once you go against the grain. So that being said, so we'll take this back to discernment and back to Michelle, because we've gone a bit of a loop here, but we've put a little bit of context behind that. But I'm going to try and mash it all together a little bit better. So you believe that her feeling the need to exercise this muscle called no is rebellion. I believe that it's defiance, but we can both agree that it's a form of pushing back. Yes or no?
Yes.
All right. So being that it's a thing of pushing back. So the question is she pushing back against her husband, or was she pushing back against the tradition of the first lady, or the inactive first lady? Again, do you believe that she's pushing back more so against having to still maintain the presence of the office that her husband is in? Do you feel that it's more towards that or towards him, this pushing back?
Oh gosh, I think it's more towards. I think it's more of a competition thing. She wants to accomplish something too, or I think she's comparing herself to him.
I believe that Michelle, or the First Lady, Miss Obama, I believe she feels slighted. She has put her life on hold. And now that they're no longer in the public eye in that particular sense, she is still in a position to whereas, I don't know if you ever met anyone who's ever said this, or a woman who said this. When I was stationed in England, there was a guy that I worked with, and I walked up And I had never met his wife, but because I knew him, I was being sociable. I said, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Jay. Aren't you Dino's wife?" And she looked at her girlfriend, and this is her exact expression: "No, I am not his wife. He is my husband." I'm like, "Well, damn," and I'll say, "Well, damn" again. It looks like we lost Schlitz here for a second, but I'm sure he'll be back. So, getting into what I was just saying here, there's the whole aspect that I see here that Michelle is probably looking at how much time that is left in her life to accomplish some of the goals that she had set out for herself. Now, these goals may have been set before she and Barack got married. They may have been set before she and Barack had children, and they may have been set before Barack became president. But nonetheless, if I look at this from a perspective where she says I have to exercise my no muscle, this is most likely her saying, I have things that I want to do as well. I have goals that I want to achieve. I have perspectives on things that I have not yet been able to strive for because I have been following him. Now, that is what I believe is the biggest thing here when I'm reading this article, or should I say when I read this article about her saying that I need to flex my no muscle. But here's the thing: if you're going to flex that no muscle, or let's just go ahead and say, if you're going to say, no, I'm not going to, there's still a level of decorum, not to mention context, time, and place that needs to be considered. Now, this might just be me, and I don't know if Rob's going to make it back up or not, because where he is, the internet connection is spotty. I'm surprised I'm surprised he hung in for as long as he did with his connection. But be that as it may, even though you have the ability to say no, is it appropriate when you do utilize this no? Just on reading the article, let me go ahead and flash this again. Reading this article, the first thing is that, okay, she skips it. All right, she skips something else. I didn't put too much thought into it at first, but when I saw the reason why she skipped it, and let me bring this back up again here. She was practicing the art of saying no. It's a muscle that you have to build. That makes no sense to me at all. Why would you want to use no or call it a muscle to build? It's not a muscle per se. It's a statement that you express whether or not what you're saying no to has any relevance to you. Now, we've all heard the saying, hey, this is much bigger than us. I think that's where my offense to what she had said took place. Again, if you follow me, I rarely can think of too many things that I'm going to sit here and go back and forth about Black women with, about behavior, about wants, desires, because I realize, and this is something that I take as far as a level of understanding that a lot of folks don't. I know from the Black culture or the African culture, I know that our society, again, as an African descendant, was one that was a matriarchy before the introduction of eurocentric value. The woman was in charge of the marketplace. Again, she was a part of the politics. Now, she was in aspects of running government. She was queen in certain areas. She was a warrior. But that doesn't mean that she lived in defiance of him. That's not what it means. It just simply means that there was a level of importance and respect and reverence that existed in Africa before the coming of Europeans. And with the coming of the Europeans, to include also the coming of the Muslims, the role of women and in African society was diminished. I won't say completely stomped out, because depending upon where you are on the continent, you will still see areas that women still have a strong part in areas of government, in areas of commerce. And this can be seen specifically if you were to look at the East Coast, or the eastern coast of Africa, which is more Muslim, or where you have a lot of blacks who have been converted to Islam over centuries. I mean, when you have an African guy whose name is Tariq Ibn Abzahad or something like that, you have to scratch and ask yourself, how did this happen? But again, if you don't know that the Muslims around the 6th century, no, actually the 7th century, invaded Africa and then ended up converting a great deal of Africans. If you don't know this, you'll never give that into consideration. This is literally aspects of history that we never as Americans consider, much less just being African Americans or Irish American, Spanish American, however you want to call that. This is element of history, or these are elements of history that aren't really discussed, that we never give any consideration to. So again, Africa was a matriarchy before the coming of the Europeans. After that, it all changed to whereas we look at everything we have now, which is male dominated. And in this environment, you do have women who I can actually say, if I look at it from an open perspective, if I widen my lens a little bit, yes, there is a level of systemic misogyny, chauvinism. And I can speak to that because I was one of them when I was younger. Openly just saying, what is it, your time of the month? Is this why you acting up? Thinking nothing of it. Damn, what type of estrogen spike did I walk in the middle of? So I can say that I carried a lot of that with me, and only within the last 15 to 20 years did I start more or less waking up and coming out of it. So if I bring this all back and we take the focus again, looking at what Michelle's aspect of life has been, she put her life on hold as a mother. She put her life, or I shouldn't say her life, but her, we'll say her ambitions on hold as a mother, her ambitions on hold as the first lady. Although she did have some aspects that she was able to put forth, like the school lunch program. But I do recall folks saying, wait a minute, hey, when she started, as they said, doing too much, you do realize that you are the first lady and not the president. Now, I can only imagine what type of conversations that may have taken place behind that White House door. So you have to really think about what she's doing right now when she's saying, I am flexing my no muscle. What I construe this to be is her saying that I have done all I can to be of support to him as a wife and as the first lady. But I've got some things that I want to do. Now, I've got nothing against that person. I can't see any issue with anyone wanting to get the most out of the one life that they have. But you have to consider the timing. So myself, this is a knock for her to decide that I'm just going to skip these funerals. But yes, she has the right to do so. But then again, are you forgetting the office or the support of the office that you held? You are still a former first lady. And even though you are not in the White House, there's still a level of decorum that should be adhered to. Now, I'm saying this only because of the fact of having been military. I am proud military, but I will always be military. And therefore, there is a level of decorum that I still operate at. One of the most basic aspects of being prime military is being on base, and when reveille sounds, even though I no longer wear the uniform, I still pay my respects. Whereas before, when reveille sounded, I was in uniform, there was a salute. Now, I'm either standing with my hands to my side or making sure that I have my hand over my heart. If I remember, but still, the aspect is that I am still maintaining that level of decorum, of that level of integrity, service before self, that is still there in the capacity as a civilian. So again, listening to uh, Mrs. Obama say, you know what, it was so hard, even though it may be perceived as being right, I have to do what's right for me. Well, no, no, no. See, then we have a problem. And I think, and I say it right now, it annoys me just saying this. I have a problem with that because she seems to forget that she's putting herself in front of a level of service. As I said before, this is bigger than her. This is not about you feeling, well, you know what, I got things I want to do. Yeah, I was the first lady before, but that's not my gig anymore. I've got other things to focus on. No, there is a level of decorum. There's tradition that still comes from that. Now, anyone who does not understand that and says differently, then we're just going to be on the opposite sides of this. I'm 10 toes down on what I'm saying right now. But I say that for a reason, because there are things that I gained from the aspect of being in the military. I can't say that it was all good or bad, but I will say that I got from it what I put into it, and what I took from it has been of value to me. So I can't really just piss on the whole campfire and just call the troops in and leave. But I still recognize that what I participated in, there is still a level of value, there's connection, there's decorum that I still feel. And I would think that a former first lady would have that perspective as well. So that is the issue that I have. So again, that's why I say her discernment undermines whatever message that she says that she's putting out for her girls or for other young women. What I see her saying in this moment is that I don't care if I was the first lady. That's not my role anymore. I've got to be able to tell people, no, hey, don't ask me to do any first lady stuff. I don't need to do this because I've got other things that I find to be important. So she's discounting the one aspect that introduced her to the world. When people see her, they don't think of the lawyer, Michelle Obama. They think of Michelle Obama, the first lady. They see her on a pedestal of sorts. One that was in support of policy, democracy, decorum. And in this moment right now, it's like, whatever. I've got to focus on telling people no. But was this the time to say no? All right, so we're going to let that drop about that. I think I've beat that horse enough. Again, I think that she did not use discernment. I think it was a poor showing of discernment, or the lack of discernment on her part, by choosing to skip these funerals. And the only response she has is, well, I need to focus on being able to tell people no. Even though that it might be perceived as right, I need to do things that are right for me. But is that right for the office or the position that you held, for the decorum, for the tradition that is still being maintained? For some of us, we will agree to disagree. That's the best place I can put it. Now, as far as the discernment, I'm going to go ahead and close it out here because I was hoping to do this with Rob before his connection dropped. So we've talked about the aspect of men and women, what we want in each other, what we see. I've done this numerous times, so I will do it again, and I will continue to do so. Now, before I do, here's one thing I want to try here. This is something that I got from Dr. Ray Hagans, who is a former pastor, but also a psychologist. So this is my modified version of it. This is a circle that he likes to put up here. And in that circle, this is going to be what it is that you hold dear and true to yourself. So a bit of an ad lib for what I have, but just work with it. So imagine you put your hands up like this. You make the circle and follow along with me. Inside this circle is the lived anecdotal experience and exposure that has defined my life. Just because I don't agree with what's being told to me does not make me an idiot or the other person a liar. It means I am just not familiar with the discussion. Now I'm going to try and do that more often when I start some things out here. I meant to do that earlier, but better late than never, right? So now that I've said that, what I'm basically saying is that just because you're hearing some new information here doesn't make you an idiot, doesn't make me a liar. It just means it might be something that you are unfamiliar with. And being unfamiliar with it doesn't mean that the whole world is going to burn down. It simply means that there might be another perspective that you yourself have never considered because you've never been exposed to it based upon who is already in your circle. So we need to widen things up a bit. All right, so enough about the circle. I'll be doing that more often so we can develop some type of baseline to have a conversation from. So what is it that men look for in women? Well, you've heard it before. We talk about femininity, fitness, fertility for the most part. Let's also talk about cooperation, agreeability, discretion, discernment. We look for also nurturing and care. So that's a basis of that. Femininity, fitness, friendliness. Femininity, fitness, friendliness, fertility, depending upon age, cooperation, agreeability, discretion, discernment, nurturing, and actually, let me say peace. Let me take care away. Peace. Now, what is it that women will be looking for in men? Focus, guidance, security, stability, discipline, direction. Also an element of fitness. We're talking about care and protection. Now, maybe one I think I left out of that, but for the most part, we're looking at just a baseline. So, right, we're looking at a baseline of what's being looked for, what we want between the two of us. So between her peace and his care and protection, you again get mutuality. So that's the thing of where we both meet in the middle. But when that system of, or should I say not system, but when that moment of mutuality occurs, it's still going to grow. Because once that mutuality is being seen between the two of us, we have developed a sense of value. Value has no worth unless it is agreed upon. Because essentially, we get what and who we qualify for. Meaning that if there's a sense of value that is exchanged that we see in each other, that means we may have found our match or someone that is going to be willing to work with us and compromise. This goes further into what I say, like who likes you back. Now, no matter how old we get, even I've made this mistake in my 40s and even in my 50s along the way. You have got to spend time recognizing that if you are putting a lot of effort towards someone who is not bringing that same effort or exuding that same effort towards you, you may be doing too much for nothing. Hence, like who likes you back. Otherwise, you're just an option to someone for them to call you up. Hey, what's going on? Hey, I need something. You do this one thing. Then after they get that, they're gone again. You know who is interested in you and who is not because you have email, you have a phone, you can text. What else? Slow mail. Put something in the postal system, something along those ways. Anything. There is a level of discernment that has to be exercised to understand where you sit with someone. Now, moving one step further, I talked about what men look for in women, what women look for in men. We talked about mutuality. I've mentioned value. But one thing that I save on the back end, and this is what I hope Rob will still be here for. Maybe you might still be watching, Rob. If not, well, you know that you have the replay. That word submission. As I said before, submission is what has thrown things into a backspin for a millennia. I recall one of the phrases when in marriage where the woman is expected to love, honor, and obey, but she doesn't. But he doesn't have to do that in exchange. So I've seen a lot of women who are like, well, wait a minute, what's this obey thing? We need to skip past that. That is another example of the patriarchal. I can never say that word right. The patriarchy, put it that way. That is another example of the chauvinism that goes into this. There's nothing biblical about that. That was a perspective. And as I said before, the introduction of African spirituality back to us as a culture, where it came back as being Christianity, that kind of thinking did not exist in the matrilineal society that Africa was prior to exposure to eurocentric values. So again, this word submission. What I think women have missed is that men submit first. And I've said this before. And again, if you're having an issue with what I'm saying, put your circle back up, all right? Just because what I'm saying here does not make you stupid, does not make me a liar. It just means that there's information you may not be familiar with. So think about this. Men chase, but women choose. However, if you are of interest to her, she can be persuaded. At no point in time has there ever been any misconstrued that the whole aspect of men and women has been based around women. Now, this comes from, as I said before, this comes from the matrilineal society of Africa prior to Eurocentric values being introduced. Because of this, I say again, men chase, but women choose. However, if she likes what she's looking at, she can be persuaded. Something else that many people have heard me say is that a woman knows who she's looking for before she gets out of bed in the morning. If you get her time, it's either because you're the guy she's looking for, or you might be an acceptable alternative until what she really wants comes along. But even then, you never really know, do you? Well, you can know up to a certain degree, but that has got to come back to what we talked again of value. If there's a level of value that you are exuding towards her that she sees and exudes back to you, you both have qualified for each other's time, which means that there's that level of mutuality exists, which again takes us to the next level of submission. And submission doesn't mean that I'm going to be your doormat. No, submission is her trust. Now we'll go back to what I said before, that men submit first. But if you use the word submission to a man who is fully invested in the way we live right now, which is this patriarchal society, that's being weak. No, I ain't submitting to nobody. No, I don't submit. No, she submits to me. That means that you're dealing with someone who has a complete lack and understanding of the word submission, just as much as she does. Submission is more or less her choice. And in order for her to make the choice to choose you, there's got to be a level of trust that she has to have. She has to see in you as a man. She has to see the man that she wants to marry. Your actions have to be everything that you say they're going to be. As I've said many times before, and again, I keep saying many times before because I've got about now 100 some odd videos to my credit. Feel free to check that out. But I've said this before. Men, if you don't respect her as a girlfriend, why would you respect her as a wife? Ladies, just because he does this for you one time, what makes you think he'll continue to do it all the time? Notice I'm not picking sides here. I'm not picking favorites. But still, discernment has got to be something that is a part of this. So again, when you hear submission, ladies, it's not about you bow down, yield to me, go get me pot pie. No, that's not what it means. Submission is something that you control because it is going to be a choice that you make. Subjugation, now that's different. That is what people confuse submission with. They confuse it as being subjugated, meaning that you have no choice, you have no power. No, with submission, as Rob was saying, you have control over that. You determine who it is that you will give your trust, your love to. Now, let's look at how submission for this works from a male perspective. If I see you walking down the street and I find you to be attractive, and remember, we've talked about this in other videos, the 5 senses: sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. Those are the basics that get us through the laws of attraction. Now, whatever laws of attraction other people hold, piss on that. I'm going to tell you the 5 sensory perception steps that I speak of: sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. That's all you have to focus on. Now, once we've gotten into a certain area where these things have been achieved, you will have a relationship that will come back to you. But sight is always going to be that first thing. Sound, what you say. And I'm speaking from the male perspective right now, what you say to her, what you know of her, meaning that when you have this conversation, you've already done your prep work. But if you haven't done your prep work or you haven't had the time, you got to go into it cold, which means that you have to be more of an active listener. Check her out, watch what she's doing, listen to what she's saying, take notice of her behavior. Is she looking at you when you're speaking? Is she looking down at her phone? Is she looking off at somebody else? There's going to be certain things that are going to trip and let you know whether or not you got her interest. But the first and foremost of this is going to be sight. If she is willing to have the conversation with you, that means that you may have qualified somewhere along the way, or maybe she might be sizing you up to be some type of simp that she can get stuff from. Again, it can go either way. Smell. Don't walk up smelling rusty, smelling like all of outside. Don't smell like a gym. Don't smell like anybody's ass other than your own. Don't smell like yours. All right. Make sure that when you step, you've got some type of fragrance on that is going to elevate you. It's going to work with your natural body levels, or your natural scent, as people say. All right. Taste. Be able to find out what she likes. Nothing goes better than if she's out with someone who has an idea of what it is that she enjoys, even if it's this a simple meal that you take her out to, or even if you cook it yourself. I will say it works better if you do cook it yourself. Now, again, that's not how it used to be about 20 or 30 years ago, whereas girls would actively invite you over to their apartments. Or if you were in the dorm, like I was, invite you over to their dorm room. Or if you are in the military still and you're all living off base, again, invite you to her house, or again, her apartment, her dorm room. It doesn't matter. The thing is that if you get past the first 3, sight, sound, and smell, you get to that taste part. I'm just saying, you may want to have some skill sets about you guys when it comes to cooking. Or if you can't cook worth a damn, you better know where there's a good place to go and have a good meal. And if that goes well, hey, you get down to touch. That's what we're talking about, the little kissing thing. Now, yes, you may have already met this requirement after, sight, after sound, after smell, but somewhere along the way, you've got to understand that it's got to go somewhere. Now, if you're just in it for, as we used to say in the days, get the skins and go, then understand that if you make that choice and she does also, nobody has anything to complain about. Now, I've seen a lot of issues whereas a woman will say, oh, he tricked me. Okay, so let me tell you something. This is what a woman had told me. You are not going to trick her. No, there is no tricking her. She knows what she's doing. If anything, it's going to come down to the choice that both she and he make. You cannot trick a woman for what's hers. Absolutely not. And this is something that I heard from a woman who was probably in her late 30s to early 40s. And this is back when I was in my mid 20s. I'll be 56 this year. And I can still remember, I think her name was Beverly. And she said, "You're not going to trick a woman. She knows what she wants." Even a young lady who was my age said, "Hey, a woman knows who she's looking for." I think I already mentioned this statement. If you happen to be the guy she wants, hey, you get her time, or you just might be the guy who's a good time until what she really wants comes along. But as this young lady said, a woman knows who she's looking for. She knows who she wants. She's not going to be tricked. If you get her time, it's because she gave it to you. She made the choice to do that. But at the same time, if she made the choice to give me her time, I'm making the choice to accept it. So there can't be this thing of, oh, he used me. No, I didn't use you. I took advantage of the time you gave me because I wanted to give you my time as well. After we got through with whatever we're doing, it just wasn't my cup of tea. But this is where he needs to be able to say, you know what? This didn't work out too well for me. But does that rarely happen? It does at times. But for the most part, either one or both folks just drift away and just leave it as it is. But if one person cares more than the other, you're going to get that, oh, yo, how could you? Now, again, we're looking at this from the perspective of the guy here, who has supposedly been the rat bastard. Oh, you took advantage of me. I said, no, I can't do that. You knew what you wanted the same as I did. As a man, I can't take from you what's yours. All I can do is convince you why you should give it to me. Because in the end, it's going to be a choice thing. Unless you're one of these dudes that's walking around just taking stuff, by force. Okay, yeah, we don't do that. That's not what happens, at least not on this platform. But even in discussion, there's nothing that he's going to do unless there's been a choice made by her for him to have that opening to walk into. And at the same time, as the guy, if I am being given this, I need to consider, is this something that she's doing for the first time? Or if it's not the first time, is this something that she's doing because there's something about me she likes? Or, hey, maybe she just wants to get her freak on. I'm good under any circumstance myself. Even more so when I was younger. Right? If it just fell on my lap, if I'm just out clowning with the fellas in a parking lot somewhere talking trash, and someone says, "Hey, I'll go home with you." Okay. I'm not mad at that. And many times that was the case back then. But both I and that young lady made a choice that, hey, we're going to do this. And when it's over and done with, if there's anything that comes from it, great. If not, we had a good time. But the thing here is that it is choice that comes to that. Now, that's a little bit off the topic, but let me skate back again. So, rewind. You walk by. I see her, you, female. Female walks by. I'm interested. I walk up and say, "Hey, what's going on? I am so-and-so." I'm being less formal about it. I'm just more or less going through the motions here, just describing what goes on. We introduce ourselves. She looks me up and down. She likes what she sees. Of course, I like what I see. Otherwise, I would not have pursued it. Again, men chase. Now, during this course of conversation, I may not get what I'm after the first time, which is her phone number. So when I see her again, hey, I make a second approach. "Hey, girl, what's going on? Hey, caught up to you again. What's good?" So obviously you've been checking me out. Maybe she wasn't, but I'm going to tell her she was, just to get the conversation started, get a laugh, and then I build my baseline from there. But essentially, the idea here is to find a way to get her phone number. Once I do get her phone number, we go out one or two times. And then that's when you start seeing, is this going to go anyplace? Now, if I know that I'm not going to spend any time with this girl, I'll make sure I answer the phone sometimes. I'll call sometimes. I get what I'm after, and then I'd be gone. That was my modus operandi. But if there was something serious where I wanted to be around this girl, to be with this person, then I would make it known my level of interest. From that point of time, when I make that level of interest known, what's going to happen now is that I will get this, okay, look, we've been doing this thing back and forth. I may call you sometimes, you call me, but let's go ahead and put this someplace. If you're going to continue talking to me, you can't be messing with all these other girls. Okay. It's, I don't even know why I laugh. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I don't even know why I still laugh that part. But what I'm trying to say here is that if it's a serious thing, I'll say, okay, I can do that. So what I'm doing at this point in time is I am showing a level of submission to her. I am saying that if I am going to have her attention, if it is going to be just the two of us, I'm going to cut out messing with other girls. And if she was a straight up baddie, that is what I was willing to do. So again, when you get to a point to where a girl says, look, if you want to talk to me, you can't be messing with all these other girls. Okay, done. And then when I do that, that is me as a man showing a level of submission. I am agreeing. That's all submission is. You are agreeing. I am agreeing that I will chase and deal with no one but her. So even right then, there's a small element of trust that I need to extend. But at the same time, in the back of my mind, I still know that I'm either someone she's looking for or I'm an acceptable alternative. But it's still too early to determine which one it is. I just know that for what I'm being offered here, and we may have already had sex 2 or 3 times. And if I'm liking what's going on, okay, yeah, we can do this. And then the next thing you know, if it's worth anything, you're looking at 5, 6, 8 months down the road, to whereas this has actually become a relationship. To whereas now you may be considering marriage with this girl. And you're considering marriage with this girl. Now that means you have to come back and say, hey, we've been together for X amount of time. I think I'm ready to do this. I haven't been messing with anyone but you. We've had our ups, we've had our downs. But I realize you're probably going to be, well, that's not a way to use probably here. You are the one that I want to spend my time with. So now here comes the thing of you as a man saying to her, hey, will you marry me? Now, of course, now we're talking about a game changer. Now, there's a level of submission that she's got to operate from now. But the question is, submit to him? Well, I don't know. Well, wait a minute. Now, as I said before, men submit first. So when he comes back looking for her hand in marriage, why does this have to be a big thing built around her submission? Now, anyone is having a problem with this, either if it's this one person watching or anyone in the replay, put your circle up. All right, put your circle up. Ask yourself, why is the conversation of submission so blown up and built around her? Because again, the misconstrue of the word submission. You have a choice. Submission is concurrence, it's agreement. And again, it is her trust being given to him, provided she sees in him the man she wants to marry. The same after 7 or 8 months, he has already seen in her the woman that he wants to marry. He's already submitted. He's been there for 6, 7, 8 months, a year, whatever, before proposing. He has already shown his act of submission by not chasing other women, by saying that he would make her his entire focus. He has submitted. Now it's her turn. And again, this is where it gets sticky. I've heard women say, I don't know. I don't want to sacrifice my independence for, and getting married. I want to keep that. So then why have you been with this guy up until this point? You've told him, don't mess with anybody else. You have to deal with just me if you want my time. But when he fully commits and asks for your hand in marriage, now it's the thing of you wanting to maintain your autonomy. What type of discernment are we talking at this point? Let me do this. And we'll go ahead and start shutting this down. discernment definition. There we go. So we'll take this out. Share screen. And we'll go with tab, discernment, no sound. All right, so here is the definition of discernment: the ability to judge well. So as I said before, looking back at Michelle Obama, her statement of, well, I need to develop my muscle to say no. Now, I need to look at this impossible bar. I need to make sure people know that even though it's perceived as being the right thing, I've got to do what's best for me. I don't feel the need to join my husband as a former first lady at the gravesite of Jimmy Carter or at the gravesite of Jessie Jackson because, I'm telling you no, because I'm flexing the muscle that I've developed. I'm doing what's best for me, while forgetting that there's an office, as I said before. You are the former first lady. There's a level of decorum. Even though you're no longer in the office officially, there's still an expectation of you. And for you to blow that off by saying, well, I'm just flexing my no right now. I've got other things that I would like to do. There's a time and there's a place. But again, that's why I say that she showed poor discernment. Whereas right now, in the discussion we're having on the scenario that's been presented, if he is asking for her hand in marriage and she's now saying, well, I don't know. I don't know if I want to give up my individuality, my independence. Then what have you been doing for 6, 8 months, a year, 2 years, 4 years with this guy who has submitted to the relationship by choosing no one but you? What's been going on? Has he been an option the entire time? See, that's a discussion that we don't have because, again, submission is always built around her. No one gives any consideration to the submission that he has shown and stood by if this guy has been there from the very beginning and has been no one but her. It's all in the perspective. And again, it's going to be based on whether or not you have your circle that you're looking at and basing this on. But let's say for the best case scenario that she's seen in him the man she wants to marry. He has done what he said he's going to do. Therefore, her trust, aka her submission, her agreement and concurrence comes through. Hey, no problem, man. I figured that it may have been your phone or connection or something like that. No worries. I was just going through it, Rob, right now, having the conversation of submission that you and I had started on, but we hadn't really covered. So hit the link again, man, if your phone is charged up enough, or if anything, if you're going to play it from the chat, then hey, do what you're going to do. So as I said here, if we look at submission in full context, the man always submits first. And again, when I say submission, I'm not talking this subjugation. I'm not talking simp type of logic. No, I'm talking submission, which is going to be concurrence and agreeance. Yes, I agree to follow, or not follow, but I agree to spend no time, show no interest in no one but you. Because she said, if you want my time, it's got to be me and only me. All right, cool, Rob. Appreciate it. So therefore, he submits first by simply saying, I will chase no other woman. I will focus on no other woman. It'll just be you. Now, as guys, we know in the beginning, we may still have one or two things off to the side that we engage in. But when it gets tight and when you know everyone else, hey, so why aren't you coming by tonight? Well, I'm kind of seeing someone. I'm seeing somebody who means something more than just a little bit in and out. Smith, what's going on, guys? Yeah, there's something going on with notifications. I think what I may end up doing here is maybe a short video on how people can turn on and check their notifications. So I think that's what's happening a lot here, is that when people have their notifications turned on, they are missing certain elements to make sure that it's an immediate notification and not something that comes in at a period of time. So yeah, Smith, if you're late, that's something that I need to really look at and start making sure that if my notifications go out and I don't see people here, it might be because of your settings, which means I need to show you guys how to make changes to your settings. But getting back to it, folks, as I was saying here, submission is a two-way street. And the two-way street starts with him first. It always starts with him. Once I agree that it's you and only you, I've made it known that I am agreeing to your terms. It's just you, woman. Make it worth my while. There's my submission as a dude. No, that's a good point, Rob. I probably need to be using that a little bit more. I'm so inconsistent about it. That's probably what we do need to do. So once he agrees, it comes back to her. But it's always, as I said before, it's a bigger thing about her submission when we get down to the wire. Is this what I really want? Well, what about what I've really wanted? What about what I've done to prove to you that I'm worthy of your time? Why should it be a big brouhaha in order to get you to show the same level of submission to me, that I showed to you? It shouldn't be. But again, if there is a level of value that is exchanged between the two, there should be no question. Value has no worth unless it's agreed upon, because in the end, you get what you qualify for. And if it's a long, drawn out process of getting her submission, meaning her concurrence, her agreeance to be with you, then it probably means that you've been an option the entire time, or you may not be the guy she's been waiting for. Maybe you've just been the option until something she really wants comes along. So that is what I will say about submission. It is not just for her to entertain, but yet it has always been that because of how it was presented. And again, in the Bible, it is expected for her to obey and submit, but not him. And again, everyone knows I don't believe in the Bible. It's Aesop's fairy tales for Christians, nonetheless. And we've had shows that have demonstrated the contradictions of it all. But still, it is a chauvinistic approach that's expected of her. Whereas I've demonstrated that it is actually in each other's interest where submission is played and adhered to. Another issue that's common in consideration of relationships is the mid-relationship crisis. The point where women often start having second thoughts and doubts. Yeah. But remember now, if she is capable of having second thoughts and doubts, that means that he is as well. The question is, who comes to this road first and who resolves that issue first? So when you come to that area of, what did you say? Thoughts and doubts. When you hit that point, it's probably a good thing to have the conversation with who you're in the relationship with. All right, so now, folks, we're getting ready to shift away from the main topic because I do believe we've run this into the ground. Just to summarize this, where the show started, Smith, if you're still there, let me know something, all right? Let me know if you're still around, Smith. All right, so summarizing the first part of the show here. Michelle Obama skipped another engagement with the hubby, but gave a reason of why she skipped it, being that I'm learning to exercise my ability to say no. I am training my no muscle, as she said. As I said, let me take it back from that. what Rob said, it looked like to him that it was an act of what did you say? What did you say, Rob? You said it was not rebellion. I said defiance, but we both agree it was her pushing back. Yeah, Smith, make sure you hang out here for a second because you asked a question a couple of shows ago about ICE, and I never did answer that. I'm going to do that tonight. I just want to make sure that we close the loop on the initial discussion of what this show was based on, and that was discernment, or the lack of Michelle Obama's discernment in this particular situation. So stand by, Smith. We're going to go back and answer a question that you'd asked. All right. So again, getting back to this, again, I do not believe that Michelle Obama showed a level of discernment by choosing to not join her husband for these two funerals of former presidents, because there's a level of decorum that is still held by the former first lady. But as Rob and I discussed before, Michelle Obama most likely put her ambitions on hold when she got married to Barack, when she had children with Barack. And then when Barack became president, her ambitions and what she wanted to pursue were getting further and further and further away. So this is probably the time period where she's saying, I am going to use whatever time I have left to pursue what it is that I would like to do before I die. All right, so yep, Smith, you still here? Like I said, man, stand by. Rob, relational submission is mutual and organic. For example, if a woman chooses to follow the lead of a man and the man in turn returns consideration. As first lady and his wife. Now, this is where I say, Rob, we want to be careful when we throw this word of leader around. Because again, remember that we're dealing with a patriarchal sense that exists in today's generation, this distorted aspect of red pill that's followed. Men are the leader, women submit, and all this other type of nonsense. Again, red pill is a major distortion, and it is hot garbage. And it's not even the true aspect of what red pill is. And again, we've had a show on that. But again, I try to stay away from the leader conversation because that's when things go sideways. Because when people hear that, that's when the defenses come up. And then all of a sudden we get the word submission. Women need to submit to their man. And it gets used in the wrong sense where submission comes out as subjugation. If anyone is followed, again, remember the circle aspect. Inside of this circle is my anecdotal, lived experience and exposure that I've based my life on. Just because of what I'm hearing from this person does not make me a liar or make me an idiot and this other person a liar. It just means it's conversation that I'm unfamiliar with. All right. We got to make sure we put that circle up and give thought to what we're hearing. All it is a conversation that we've never had before. All that ICE stuff is crazy. And I worry sometimes that the UK will suffer the same fate as these certain folks get into power. Yep. Racism is on the rise in the UK and more people starting to view far-right content. Yep. You are absolutely right. But again, that's what we're going to discuss here in a second as soon as Rob and I tie the knot here. I understand, John, but as I mentioned before, women in our community naturally follow the lead of criminals and thugs, etc. Yes, we definitely have that aspect. Matter of fact, do me this favor, Rob. Let's go ahead and table that right there and just put a pin in it and make sure that this may be a topic for the next show. So when we get off the stream like we normally do, let's go ahead and have a conversation and see what we can do to address that. All right, so copy that. All right, so though we have talked about this discernment thing as much as we can, and I appreciate it, we're going to go ahead and shift topics here. All right, so in the end, Michelle showed a poor lack of discernment. So that is my take on it. If anyone wants to comment on that further, by all means, drop something in here, the active comments right now, and we will address this later on. Or please check the page like Rob was saying. So I need to check my YouTube page more often. I need to be more active. I say it, don't do it. I need to start doing it more. I need to make time for it. So we're going to make time. Look at you being fair to the women folk and stuff. Hey, as I've said before, this is not a platform for males. It's not for females. It's not black. It's not white. This is for grown folks to have conversation. We may have uncomfortable talk here and there between us, but as it gets awkward, that means that we're broaching someone's level of insecurity, possibly. As I've said before, I am too old to be shy at this point. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. All right. So let me go ahead and stop this banner because we're no longer talking about discernment. And Agent Smith, I noticed, and it is indeed word. So what we're doing now, folks, we are shifting our focus. So a couple of shows ago, Smith asked Rob and I about our perspective of ICE and what was going on. Now, at the time that Agent Smith had asked us about what were our thoughts on ICE, I believe this is after ICE had murdered the second person, where they shot the young man claiming that he had a weapon on him, that he walked up brandishing it. But no, he did not walk up brandishing the weapon. He walked up holding his phone. And it was shown in the videos that all he did was come up with his phone, and he was coming to the aid of women who were actually being bullied and physically assaulted by ICE agents. And as we saw in the video, he came to their rescue, and in the act of rescuing them, they then jumped him. Then they pepper sprayed him and her. Matter of fact, one of the girls who was trying to help her friend get up, she got pepper sprayed for no reason, just because she was trying to help her friend. And then we saw how the girl who he was helping was trying to hold on to them. When the agents turned their attention to him, they then pulled him away and then started searching him, pulled the gun off his person, and then someone yelled gun, and they shot and killed. Yes, I'm using proper terminology. They shot and killed this unarmed man who came to the fight with his weapon, but it was not drawn. It was on his person because he was authorized for concealed carry. But then all of a sudden they say, who comes to a protest with a gun? You know what? A whole bunch of guys wearing masks and automatic, semi-automatic weapons for people who are carrying banners talking about the need to be vaccinated. That's who comes to protest with guns. Excuse me. I'll take a breath. So, moving back to what we're saying right now, ICE has been in the wrong direction right out of the gate. The incentives that were provided for them out of funding that was clawed back, and dare I say stolen from other worthwhile actions that were actually earmarked and out the door. Now, when you're giving $50,000 bonuses to people who are going through less firearms training, less training altogether to be ICE agents than it does to become cops, you have a problem. I believe it's what, 3 to 4 months to become a cop, but you got guys getting certified off to be ICE agents in 3 weeks, if that, month, who knows, and then getting $50,000 on top of that as a sign-up bonus. What in the hell is wrong with us? Imagine the Second Amendment becoming invalid while exercising the First. Imagine that. Hey, we don't even have to imagine that. We're looking at it right now. Yep, so much for the Constitution. A complete wipe of the ass with that and thrown away. Man, come on now. What was that Ed Lover used to say? Come on, son. Anywho, again, as we tie to this and look at this, what we have now is ICE has been given more authority than was ever within their purview. All it was is a border thing. That's what ICE originally started with, just for watching the border. The 1924 Immigration and Naturalization Act is what put Border Patrol on the map. It's what created that. And then we go 60, 80 years here in the future and we see a complete distortion of what that office, of what that organization was intended to be. Active murder is what we've seen committed. And then to see this turn around and be shown as, oh, this guy was an aggressor. He came to kill ICE agents. No, that was never the truth. Contradiction was shown in the videos. But as we know now, if anyone does not know, Kristi Noem was fired. But then, of course, given another job that supposedly has a level of prestige about it. And who do they replace her with? A guy with no degree, no background, nothing to do with the office that he's about to assume. But he would damn sure start a fight with someone in the middle of Congress. We'll leave it at that. My question is, did those agents swear an oath to the Constitution? You know what, Rob? No one really knows what these agents have done, other than what we've seen for ourselves, right? The proof is in the output. We know that these are people from watching the confrontations with ICE agents. They have no type of, for lack of a better word, I'll say no type of chill right now. It seems that, like, instead of de-escalating violence, they go head forward, right? They jump straight into it and they ramp it up as high as possible and then end up pulling their guns. Now, although it hasn't been publicized, I want to say there's been one or two more ICE shootings since, I guess, is it Daniel Peterson, Daniel Pretty? I forget the young man's name, but we had the young lady who was shot in the face. Then we also have Daniel Pretty. That was the second one. And then there were two more after that have not really been in the news. Yeah, so it has become a thing to where they are hiring all the wrong people. And these, I think the joke was, we got mall cops that are now showing up wearing ICE uniforms. Failing to drop the files, ICE, and now all this stuff in Iraq. It is my view that the Trump administration, he's truly betrayed the interests of the American people. You would not be wrong saying that. You would not be wrong at all making that statement. Now, granted, this was not the tone of tonight's show here, but let's go ahead and just get into it. All right, we're already here. Let's go ahead and do the damn thing. It was a lie. It's been a betrayal from the very beginning. What we've seen as of right now is the United States act in a manner that, had anyone else done this, if we were under the old guise of when America was being the beacon, people would have been arrested. People would already be standing trial for this. From the first time the boat was blown up in international waters, that was a crime. There was no justification before. Any evidence that was supposedly there was sunk. When we went into Venezuela and kidnapped the leader of a sovereign country, that was a crime. That was stated as being such. But now it's being treated as, oh, well. Our second bombing of Iran, or excuse me, our bombing of Iran, that was a crime. But all the laws that would have done something about this either have been superseded, not acknowledged, or just shrugged away because of the fact that we have any and all other laws that are being changed to make it okay to do what's being done right now. The right used to puff their chests out professing their love of the Constitution. But as always, their beliefs magically change when it goes against them and their actual beliefs. To be fair, the average politician, Democrat, Republican, has been going against the interests of the American people for at least nearly a century now. Whoops. All of our leaders are owned by corporate and or religious interests. Not all of them, but we're seeing that it is going to that direction. We do. So you're accurate in that statement, Rob. Yes. Here, let me do this. Let me go ahead and just turn on comments here. So what we're actually seeing now is just the complete demise of democracy and Constitution, not to mention the trust in America to do the right thing. We've pretty much pissed that away, folks. And I'm not saying that any of us on the stream, anyone watching, or anyone in the chat right now has been us, but us as a country, as a whole. Because remember, one cannot do anything without the rest being implicated, right? How can anyone possibly trust us as a country if every 4 years we're going back and forth, whereas we are representing what democracy intended to then, well, no, this is what democracy is right now based upon how I call it. Now, remember, not more than 2 months ago, when I want to say it was in Maryland, where they took down an African American dedication. Oh, what was it? Was it Laurel? Was it Laurel Springs? I can't think of where it was, but I did a show on it. But ultimately, what the lawyers said when these guys went in with crowbars and pretty much defaced a monument, I want to say it was a monument to slavery. The guy said that Donald Trump has the right to frame what actually is and is not history. I do remember that direct quote. This guy literally said that Trump could determine what is and is not history. And the judge snapped back and said, absolutely not. That is a dangerous precedent that you're setting. No. One man, much less that man, does not determine what is and is not history. This is how far things have gotten out of whack, which is what Rob is alluding to. How are you literally going to say that, no, that's not history because I decree it. You know what? This is going to be the history that we print. Well, let me say something to that. Now, today in Virginia, or within the last 24 hours, a bill was passed stating that if anything about January 6th is printed, documented, whatever you want to call it, it will be credible. Meaning that now it is illegal to make any false statements that January 6th was nothing more than a tourist visit or a peaceful protest, because we know it is not. And today in Virginia, they passed a law saying that it will, or January 6th will be interpreted or spoken about credibly. There will be nothing that sustains the lie that we've been seeing coming from the conservative side of the house. And that is a law that has been passed. So hopefully this will be the start to where we start looking at some of the actions that have already taken place with us kidnapping a sovereign president and then saying that, well, we're going to determine what happens to their oil reserves. But yet, well, we had to go into there because that country was showing a level of aggression to America. What? There was nothing that could be shown of Venezuela aggressing against the United States. Now, of course, it's going to always come back to drugs. Well, they were doing something with drugs. Something was going on with drugs. Now, keep in mind, we're also active in Ecuador right now. So what is that gateway reasoning that gets us into all these countries? The talk of drugs. Although there's no credible intel stating that there was anything coming from Ecuador having to do with drugs that would even make it plausible for America to start attacking. Madness. Yep. When we're in the military, support and defend the Constitution of the United States, not to support and defend the mood swings of an individual. Literally, getting back to the ICE conversation, I am not one to say that ICE needs to be abolished. No, ICE was there for a reason. What needs to be abolished are the people who are handing out the guidance for ICE to enact right now. There was a reason for this. But stepping it back for a bit, the reason that ICE exists was born out of racism. Now, Rob and I had covered on a separate show where we talked about where a lot of the laws came from, and they were mostly born out of racism and bigotry, and mainly because you had people other than white who were coming to America to seek their fortunes. As a result, there were a lot of these rules or these laws that were put in place to slow immigration from non-white countries. Maybe it's naive, but I like to think that the truth always finds a way of coming to light. You know what? It does, Smith, but it does not always come in a timely fashion, because by the time a lie is told, it already has a head start on the truth. Matter of fact, let me tell this story here. Since we've extended ourselves, let me go ahead and see if I can get this straight. So the lie and the truth meet at a fishing hole to go swimming. Lie tells truth, hey, I bet I can swim faster underwater than you can and make it out to, I forgot what they call the little floating thing that floats out in the middle of the water, right? But we'll just call it make it out to the float before you do. But I can stay underwater and swim further and get there faster. You up for the challenge? Truth says sure. Now, just to set the stream here, for truth and lie have always had their little ins and outs, one fighting the other. So this particular day, Truth has got on some new threads. So he's looking sharp, shirt, pants, shoes, the whole deal. And Lie wants to wear the Truth's clothes. So he's concocted this little contest. So both of them stripped down. Thank you, Bowie. So both of them stripped down to the bare essentials. And Lie says, okay, on your mark, set, go. Truth jumps in the water, boom, goes under, and there he goes. Lie is watching him under the water, making his way out to the buoy. But instead of jumping in the water behind Truth, Lie turns around, puts on Truth's clothes, and starts heading into town. So Truth comes up and realizes he doesn't hear Lie next to him. He looks around and he happens to notice that Lie is heading away wearing his clothes. So of course now Truth is headed back into land and he's out of the water butt naked and he's on the pursuit after Lie. So Lie is now walking around town wearing Truth's clothes and people are looking around like, hey, wait a minute. Is that Lie wearing Truth's clothes? Is he dressed up? Is the Lie dressed up as the Truth? See, I'm going with this. Is the Lie now dressed up as the Truth? Is that what we're seeing right now? Yes. Lie has now put on Truth's clothes and he is walking around parading as if he is the truth of the matter. But just as he's taking those few more steps, you hear Lie. It's Truth coming after him, butt naked. To which now Lie takes off running in Truth's clothes. So we are seeing the naked Truth in pursuit of the Lie. And that's what we have to understand. Now, sometimes the Lie will be dressed up as the Truth and it gets a head start, but eventually the naked Truth does catch up. Now, how's that for a corny story? Lie walking around in Truth's clothes. Truth social. Hey, there you go. That's another way to look at it. But anyway, that is my little goofball story, Smith, regarding the Lie and the Truth. As I said before, the Lie may get a head start, but eventually the naked Truth does catch up. So that's the way that we need to look at this. Eventually, Truth does catch up, and that's what we're seeing right now. I thought it was a great deal to see that Governor Spanberger, who has just been voted into office, made one of her first acts to say that January 6th will no longer be this lie that's being told. And I think New York is also doing the same thing where they're making sure that no one is going to be able to lie about January 6th. And if that ball gets going, now all we have to do with is make sure that other folks adopt this message as well, adopt this standard, so to speak. The whole deal, getting back on track, the whole deal with ICE right now is that we have a perversion of justice that's happening. We have an overreach of one organization's mandate. Ice is just out of control right now. But again, that's because of the people who are in charge of it. And I don't expect Mark Mulwayne to make this any better. He's the guy who's taking over after Christy No. Maybe he'll scale it back a little bit, but remember, he's still there to do the bidding of Donald Trump. So we don't know what next iteration of ICE we're going to see. Was I looking at presenting something else? No, I don't think I was. All right, folks. So I think we can pretty much shut this down. But before we do, Smith, let me know. Did we answer all the questions regarding ICE you were looking for? Is there anything else that we need to go a little bit further with? Crispy gnome. Yo, man, you just be making these things up on the fly. So we're going to hold for a second and see if we've answered everything regarding ICE to Smith's liking. Again, I apologize, Smith, that we missed answering these questions last time. But what I want to make sure that I start doing is ensuring that by the time we cut everything off in the show, we either answer all the questions, or if we don't get them all answers, we pull them up and make it a topic of discussion the next time around. Crispy no. No, that was fine, John. I think you had a good take on ICE. All right, appreciate it. Again, this is just my perspective, which is in and of itself is not going to be the correct answer or the only answer. This is just how I see it. But if that suffices for what you're looking for, then I'll take that as me having done what you asked, which was to give you a perspective that we could discuss. All right, folks. So that pretty much will do it for tonight. Again, it's always a little bit lean out here when Rob and I, and also when Smith joins us, we do our shows here. So as I keep saying, it's not about us getting the large audience, although that's what we want. But in the end, it's about us getting our hours in and getting towards the point to where we can start monetizing. But even when we start monetizing, to get there, it's still going to have to be with your help. Anyone who's watching this in the replay, anyone who's here actively, all two of you, spread the information, put it out there. Again, this platform is about trying to maintain a level of fact that we're not seeing in too many other places. Also, we're not here to be edutainment, or I'll take it back. I'll say edutainment. We're not here to be pure entertainment. We want to be edutainment, where there's a little bit of entertainment, but there's also a lot of education. And that's primarily what this platform is for, education. And I need to get back on that because I don't think we've had a series in a while, or should I say an addition to the series where we talked about the Black massacres in U.S. history. So there have been over 30, and we've only talked about one. I think that was Slocum, Texas. So we're going to get back on that as well. We're also going to make sure that we start taking more of an approach like today. We'll do some contemporary items, which I don't think I've had a lot to do in a while because I've been chasing after this madness that comes from this administration. We also need to go back and look more at the emotional aspect of the relationships between men and women. Something I have been failing on, and I will do a better job of. Now, in lieu of that, I've got, as I said, over 100 some odd videos. I think I'm going to re-release a few of these right about now, just to make sure that we stay relevant, but also to get your buy-in, folks, on what it is that you would like to see more of. So again, I hope everyone has had a good time watching the show tonight, whether it's replay or the two folks have been there. As always, Rob, I appreciate you for swinging by and getting on the link with me when you can. Also, Smith, same thing. I appreciate you showing up when you can. And I'm going to do something to make sure the notification a little bit better. I need to go ahead and share something like Rob was saying on the community page on how to check your notes, the notices and things like that. All right. So I will make that an action. All right. 100%. So from Rob Platinum, aka Schlitz Saint Liquor, as well as Agent Smith, I'd like to thank everyone who has been able to swing by, watch either from the clouds or watch from replay. Find somebody who knows somebody to tell somebody about what we've got going on over here. If you like it, let us know. Share it if you do. And subscribe if this is what you're looking for. Thanks, folks. And we'll see you next time. We're out of here.